I smelled the lie before I saw the burns. My daughter Rita showed up at my apartment on a Tuesday morning wearing a turtleneck in July, in Phoenix. That's the first thing that told me something was wrong. The second thing was her eyes. They wouldn't meet mine, kept sliding off to the left like wet tires on ice. "Coffee?" I asked. "Sure, Dad." I poured 2 cups in the kitchen while she sat at my table, that old oak thing I'd built 30 years ago when her mother was still alive. Rita kept her sleeves pulled down past her wrists, fingers curled into the fabric like she was holding on for dear life. "Hot out there," I said, sitting across from her. "Yeah. You sick or something?" "No." "Then why are you dressed for winter?" She took a sip of coffee. Her hand shook, just a tremor, but I saw it. "I'm cold. It's 98 degrees. I run cold, Dad, always have." That was a lie. Rita ran hot, just like her mother. Used to sleep with the windows open in December. Drove me crazy. I watched her for another minute, then reached across the table and grabbed her wrist. Not hard, just firm. She tried to pull back. I held on. "Don't." "Show me." "Dad. Now." She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. Not of me, of showing me. That's when I knew it was bad. I pulled her sleeve up myself. The burns ran from her wrist to her elbow, angry red welts in scattered patterns. Some were blistering. Some had already started to peel. They looked maybe 3-4 days old, fresh enough to hurt like hell, old enough that she'd been hiding them. "Jesus Christ." "It was an accident," she said quickly, too quickly, like she'd been practicing the words. "What kind of accident?" "I was cooking. The pot slipped." "Which pot?" "What?" "Which pot, Rita? What were you making?" She blinked. "Soup." "Soup." "Yes." "In July." "I wanted soup." I let go of her wrist. She pulled her sleeve back down, wrapped both hands around her coffee mug like it was a life preserver. "You're lying to me." "I'm not." "You've been lying to me since you walked in that door." "Want to know how I know?" "Because you're my daughter and I raised you, and when you lie, you do this thing with your left eye where it twitches. Been doing it since you were 6 years old." Her left eye twitched. "Dad, who did this to you?" "Nobody. I told you it was..." "Was it him?" Silence. "Rita, was it Brian?" "My son-in-law, Brian Keller. Married my daughter 2 years ago in a ceremony that cost me $12,000. Nice guy, I'd thought. Worked in sales, always smiling, always complimenting my cooking at Sunday dinners, always touching Rita's shoulder, her back, her arm, always nearby, always watching. "No," she said, but her eye twitched again. "I'm calling him." "Don't." "I'm calling him right now." "Dad, please." I was already walking to my phone. Rita stood up, nearly knocked her chair over. "Don't do this." "Do what?" "Ask your husband why my daughter has second-degree burns on her arms. It'll make things worse." I stopped, turned around. "Worse than what?" She didn't answer, just stood there with tears starting to run down her face, and I felt something in my chest crack like old concrete. That's when I knew for sure. That's when the world tilted sideways and stopped being the world I'd been living in for 55 years. "Go wait in the living room," I said quietly. "Dad, go." She went. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Brian's number. My hand was steady. That surprised me. I thought I'd be shaking. Instead, I felt cold, clear. Like everything had suddenly come into sharp focus after years of looking through dirty glass. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey, Frank. What's up?" "You know what's up." A pause. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Rita's here. I saw her arms." Another pause. Longer this time. "Oh. Oh, that's all you've got?" "Frank, listen." "No, you listen. You're going to tell me exactly what happened, right now. And if you lie to me, I'm going to come over there, and we're going to have a very different conversation. Understand?" I heard him breathe. Once. Twice. Then he said it. Yeah, I threw boiling water on her. The words hung in the air like smoke. I waited for him to take them back, to say he was joking, to explain that it was all some horrible misunderstanding. He didn't. Why? She wouldn't listen. Wouldn't listen to what? She talks back, Frank. She disrespects me. I'm her husband. I shouldn't have to put up with that. My hand tightened on the phone. You threw boiling water on my daughter because she talked back to you. I told her to stop. She didn't stop. So you burned her. She made me do it. Something inside me went very quiet, very still, like the air before a tornado. What are you going to do about it? He asked. I hung up. Rita was sitting on my couch, crying into her hands. I walked past her to the bedroom, opened my closet, and pulled down a box from the top shelf. Inside was an old address book. Actual paper, actual ink. Numbers I hadn't called in 15 years. I flipped through until I found what I was looking for. Then I made one call. A man answered. Yeah? It's Frank Donovan. Silence on the other end. Then, I'll be damned. Not yet. What do you need? Information, and maybe a favor. What kind of favor? The kind where somebody needs to learn something the hard way. I'm listening, I told him. When I was done, he said, I'll make some calls. Give me 2 days. 1 day. Frank. 1 day, Eddie, or I do it myself and we both know how that ends. He laughed. Not a nice laugh. Yeah, okay, 1 day, but you owe me. I know. I hung up and walked back to the living room. Rita looked up at me with red eyes. What did you do? What I should have done the day you married him. Dad, you're staying here tonight. Tomorrow we're going to the police. I can't. Yes, you can. He'll what? Hurt you? He already did that. And now I'm going to make sure he never does it again. She shook her head. You don't understand. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. No, Dad, it's not. There's things you don't know. Things about all of us. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time I wondered if the burns were the worst thing she was hiding. Tell me. I can't. Rita, I can't. She stood up, grabbed her purse. Where are you going? Home. The hell you are. I have to. If I don't go back, he'll know something's wrong. He'll know I told you. Good. Let him know. You don't understand what he's capable of. I stepped in front of the door. And he doesn't understand what I'm capable of. Not yet. But he's going to. We stared at each other. Then Rita did something that surprised me. She smiled. Not a happy smile. A sad, tired smile that made her look 20 years older. You sound like him, she said softly. Like who? Like Brian, when he gets angry. That hit me harder than any punch ever could. I stepped aside. She walked past me, out the door, and I let her go. Watched through the window as she got in her car and drove away. Watched until her taillights disappeared around the corner. Then I went back to my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found another number. This one I hadn't called in even longer. My son, David. He answered on the 5th ring. Dad, everything okay? When's the last time you talked to your sister? I don't know. Maybe a week ago. Why? You know anything about what's going on with her and Brian? Like what? Like him hurting her. Silence. David? I'm here. Answer the question. More silence. Then, Dad, I think you should stay out of their marriage. Stay out of... It's between them. It's not your business. Not my business. She's my daughter. She's also an adult. She made her choice. I felt that cold feeling spread through my chest again. What the hell is that supposed to mean? It means she knew what she was getting into, and if she's having problems with her husband, that's something she needs to work out herself. He burned her, David. A pause. I'm sure there's more to the story. More to the story. Yeah, there always is. You knew. You knew he was hurting her, and you didn't tell me. What good would that have done? I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because I was too busy realizing something that made me feel like I was standing at the edge of a very high cliff. My son didn't care. I have to go, David said. I've got a meeting. David, we'll talk later, Dad. Take care. He hung up. I stood there in my empty apartment with the phone in my hand, and for the first time in 30 years, I felt truly alone. My daughter was covering for the man who hurt her. My son knew about it and didn't care. And I'd spent the last 2 years cooking Sunday dinners for all of them like everything was fine. That's when I understood. This wasn't just about the burns. This was bigger, deeper. Something was wrong with my family, something that had been wrong for a long time, and I'd been too blind or too stupid to see it. But I saw it now. I walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. 55 years old, grey hair, tired eyes, hands scarred from 30 years of construction work. I looked like someone's harmless father, someone's harmless grandfather someday. I didn't feel harmless. I felt like something that had been sleeping for a very long time and had just woken up hungry. My phone buzzed, a text from Eddie. Got something already? Call me, I called. That was fast, I said. You're not going to like this. Tell me anyway. He told me. When he was done, I sat down on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall for 5 full minutes without moving. Then I called him back. Change of plans, I said. I need more than information. How much more? All of it. Every dirty secret. Every lie. Every piece of leverage I can get. Frank. And I need to know about my son too. David, I want to know what he's hiding. Eddie laughed again. That same not nice laugh. You sure you want to go down this road? I'm already on it. Okay, but remember, you asked for this. I know. No, Eddie said quietly. I don't think you do. Not yet. He was right. I didn't know. But I was about to learn. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. Eddie used to work construction with me 20 years ago, back when we were both young and stupid and thought swinging hammers was going to make us rich. It didn't, but Eddie was smart enough to quit before his back gave out, went to community college, got himself a private investigator license. Now he spent his days following cheating spouses and digging through financial records for divorce lawyers. Not glamorous, but useful. He showed up at my apartment the next morning at 6 a.m. with a folder thick enough to use as a weapon. Jesus, I said, looking at it. That's all from yesterday. I made calls. People owe me. He walked in without being invited, set the folder on my kitchen table, and poured himself coffee like he owned the place. You're not going to like what's in there. You already told me that. Yeah, well, I'm telling you again, because once you read this stuff, you can't unread it. Understand? I sat down. Show me. He opened the folder. The first document was a bank statement. My daughter's bank statement. I shouldn't have been looking at it. Legally, morally, ethically, I had no right. I looked anyway. Where'd you get this? Don't ask questions you don't want answered. I scanned the numbers. Rita and Brian's checking account, joint account, both names on it. The balance made my stomach turn. Negative $4,000. Overdraft fees stacked on top of overdraft fees. Minimum payments on credit cards. Past due notices on utilities. They're broke, I said. Worse than broke. They're drowning. Eddie flipped to another page. Credit card debt, $52,000. Most of it Brian's, but Rita's on the cards too. Joint responsibility. 52,000? Yep. On what? Gambling, mostly. Sports betting. Some online poker. Brian's got a problem. I stared at the numbers. Rita never said anything. She probably doesn't know the full extent. Look at this. He showed me another page. He's got a second credit card. Only his name on it. Maxed out at 15,000. She's not even on the statement. That son of a... Wait, it gets better. Eddie pulled out another document. A deed. Your apartment. What about it? Rita tried to refinance it. I looked up at him. What? 3 months ago, she put in an application to refinance your apartment, listed herself as the owner. She doesn't own this place. I do. I know. That's why the application was denied. But she tried. He tapped the paper. She forged your signature on the preliminary paperwork. The room got very quiet. Are you telling me my daughter tried to steal my apartment? I'm telling you she tried to use it as collateral for a loan. Whether that's stealing depends on how generous you want to be with definitions. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at nothing. My hands were shaking now, finally. Why? Because they're desperate. Because Brian's got creditors breathing down his neck, and Rita's probably scared he'll leave her with all the debt, because people do stupid things when they're cornered. She could have asked me for help. Could she? You're not exactly swimming in money yourself, Frank. What were you going to do? Pay off 50,000 in debt on a construction pension? He was right. I couldn't. I'd been scraping by for years, ever since the company downsized and I took early retirement. The apartment was paid off, but that was about all I had, which made me wonder. What else? Eddie sighed. You sure? Show me. He pulled out more papers. Your son, David. What about him? He's in debt too. Not as bad as Rita, but bad enough. 30,000. Failed business venture. Some tech startup that went nowhere. He borrowed money from investors. Can't pay it back. He never told me he started a business. Because it failed in 6 months. He's ashamed. Also, he's got a wife problem. What kind of wife problem? The kind where she wants a divorce and he's trying to keep her quiet until after his father dies, so he doesn't have to split the inheritance. I turned around slowly. Inheritance? What inheritance? Eddie looked at me like I was stupid. Your apartment, Frank. It's worth what? 400,000? Maybe more in this market. Half to Rita, half to David when you die. That's 200,000 each. David can't afford to lose his half in a divorce settlement. So he's waiting for me to die. Looks that way. I sat back down. My legs felt weak. There's more, Eddie said quietly. Of course there is. The wife, David's wife, Karen, she's pregnant. I know. They told me. It's not his. I looked up. Eddie slid another document across the table. A paternity test, dated 3 weeks ago. She had an affair, got pregnant, told David it was his. He found out it wasn't. That's why she wants the divorce. That's why he's stalling. He doesn't want to pay child support for a kid that isn't his, and he doesn't want to lose his inheritance doing it. Does Rita know? About the baby? No, but she knows about the money problems. David's been asking her to loan him cash. She doesn't have any to give. That's causing friction between them. How much friction? Eddie leaned back. Enough that David suggested she ask you for money. Rita said no. David got pissed. Told her if she wasn't going to help him, he wasn't going to help her. That's probably why she tried to refinance your apartment without telling you. She was trying to help both of them at once. I felt sick. And Brian? Brian's worse than I thought. He's not just a gambler. He's abusive. Has been for about a year now. Started small, shoving, grabbing, verbal stuff. Escalated to hitting 6 months ago. The burns on Rita's arms? That's the 3rd time he's burned her. First 2 were cigarettes. She told the ER she fell on a space heater. She went to the ER? Twice. Both times she lied about how it happened. Both times the nurses noted their suspicions in her chart. But Rita wouldn't press charges, wouldn't even admit it was domestic violence. So there's nothing official. Why wouldn't she? Because she's scared, because she's ashamed, because she thinks it's her fault. Take your pick. Abuse victims don't think straight. I stared at the pile of documents on my table. My whole family, laid out in black and white. Debts, lies, betrayals, and me, the stupid old man who'd been cooking Sunday dinners while it all fell apart around me. Why? I asked again. Why didn't they just tell me? Because you couldn't fix it, and because they didn't want you to know they'd failed. You're their father, Frank. You're supposed to be proud of them. How do you tell your father you're broke, divorced, getting beaten by your spouse, and planning to sell his apartment out from under him? By asking for help. That's not how people work, especially not your kids. I picked up the bank statement again, looked at those red numbers, negative $4,000, and I remembered something Rita had said yesterday. There's things you don't know, things about all of us. What else is in there? I asked, nodding at the folder. Photos, timeline, Brian's known associates. He owes money to some rough people. David's business partners. Turns out one of them's under investigation for fraud. Nothing proven yet, but it doesn't look good. Is David involved in the fraud? Unknown, but he took money from the guy, so if it goes south, he might be implicated. I closed my eyes, breathed, counted to 10, opened them again. What about Rita's wedding? I asked. 2 years ago, the one I paid for. What about it? Was she already with Brian then? Eddie flipped through the folder. Yeah, they'd been dating for 6 months. Why? Did you find anything about the wedding itself? The cost breakdown? Not specifically. Why does it matter? Because I paid $12,000 for that wedding. And I'm wondering where the money actually went. Eddie got a look on his face, the kind of look that meant he was already pulling out his phone, already making calls. I'll check, he said. He stepped out to the hallway. I heard him talking to someone, his voice low and fast. 5 minutes later, he came back in. You're not going to like this either. Just tell me. The venue cost $6,000. The caterer cost $3,000. The flowers were $800. The photographer was $1,500. Total, $11,300. I paid $12,000. I know. So where's the other $700? Rita and Brian pocketed it. I didn't say anything. Frank, they lied to me about the cost, inflated it, kept the difference. Yeah. My daughter stole from me at her own wedding. Technically. Get out. Eddie blinked. What? Get out of my apartment. Frank, listen. No, you listen. You did your job. You got me what I asked for. Now leave. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he picked up his folder, walked to the door, and stopped. You going to do something stupid? Probably. Don't. Why not? Because revenge is expensive, and you can't afford it. I laughed, couldn't help it. Can't afford it. That's funny, coming from the guy who just showed me my kids have been robbing me blind for years. I'm serious, Frank. You start going after them, it's going to get ugly. They'll fight back. They'll lawyer up. You could lose everything. I've already lost everything. I just didn't know it yet. Eddie shook his head. Call me if you change your mind. I can help you do this the smart way. There is no smart way. Then do it the legal way. That's too slow. It's safer. I don't care about safe anymore. He left. I sat alone with the folder and read through every page. Every bank statement, every debt notice, every forged signature. I read until the words blurred together and my eyes burned and my hands cramped from gripping the papers too hard. Then I called my daughter. She answered on the second ring. Dad, is everything okay? No. What's wrong? I want you to come over. Now. I can't. Brian. I don't care about Brian. I want you here in 30 minutes. Alone. Dad. 30 minutes, Rita. Or I'm coming to get you myself. I hung up. She showed up in 25 minutes. Walked in, looking nervous, her arm still covered despite the heat. What's this about? I handed her the bank statement. She looked at it. Went pale. Where did you... Doesn't matter. Is it accurate? She didn't answer. Rita, is it accurate? Yes. $52,000. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you and your husband are drowning in debt you didn't tell me about. We were going to... And this. I handed her the refinance application. You tried to steal my apartment. I wasn't stealing. You forged my signature. I was desperate. So you thought you'd rob your own father? Tears started down her face. You don't understand. Then make me understand. She sat down hard on the couch. Brian's in trouble, real trouble. He owes people money, bad people. They've been threatening him, threatening us. We needed cash fast or they were going to what? Hurt us. Break Brian's legs, maybe worse. We tried everything. Loans, credit cards, everything. Nothing worked. So I thought if I could refinance your apartment, just temporarily, we could pay them off and what? Steal from me to pay off your husband's gambling debts. It's not stealing if I was going to pay it back. Were you? Silence. Were you going to pay it back, Rita? I don't know, she whispered. Maybe. Eventually. Eventually. We didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. You could have asked me for help. You could have left him. You could have gone to the police. And told them what? That my husband gambles. That's not illegal. Domestic violence is. She looked up at me with wet eyes. How did you... I know about the burns. I know about the ER visits. I know about all of it. Dad, why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you'd react like this. I knew you'd try to fix it, and you can't fix it, Dad. You can't fix any of it. I could have tried. No, you couldn't, because it's not just Brian. It's David, too. It's all of us. We're all falling apart, and there's nothing you can do about it. What's David got to do with this? She wiped her eyes, laughed bitterly. You really don't know, do you? Know what? David's the one who told Brian to ask you for money. David's the one who suggested we refinance your apartment. David's the one who started all of this. The room tilted. Why would David? Because he needs money too. Because his wife's leaving him and he's broke, and he thought if he could get us to take out a loan on your place, he could guilt you into helping him next. He had it all planned out. We'd get the money, pay off Brian's debts, and then David would come to you crying about his divorce, and you'd give him whatever we didn't use. I sat down before I fell down. You're lying. I'm not. David wouldn't. David would. He did. Ask him yourself. I already had my phone out, already dialing. David answered on the third ring. Hey, Dad, Did you tell Rita to refinance my apartment? Silence. David, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Rita's sitting right here. She told me everything. More silence, then a sigh. She wasn't supposed to tell you. So it's true. It's not like that. Then what's it like? It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. Another sigh. Look, Dad, Rita and Brian were in trouble. I was trying to help. I suggested they leverage your apartment because it's just sitting there anyway, and when I die, yeah, when you die, we inherit it anyway, so why not use it now when we actually need it? I felt something crack inside my chest, something important. You were planning my inheritance while I'm still alive. That's not how I meant it. That's exactly how you meant it. Dad, what about your business, David? The one you never told me about. The one that failed. Silence again. Longer this time. Who told you about that? Does it matter? It was supposed to work. The investors screwed me. It wasn't my fault. Nothing's ever your fault, is it? Dad, and the baby, Karen's baby. When were you going to tell me it's not yours? I heard him breathe. Sharp, fast. How do you... I know everything, David. Everything you've been hiding. Everything you've been planning. All of it. Then you know I need money. You know I need help. I'm not helping you. What? I'm not giving you a dime. Not for your debts. Not for your divorce. Not for anything. You're my father. And you're my son. And you just told me you've been waiting for me to die so you can sell my home. So no, you're not getting anything from me. Dad, please. I'm done with you. I'm done with both of you. I hung up. Rita was staring at me with wide eyes. Dad, get out. What? Get out of my apartment, now. Dad, please. You have 60 seconds to walk through that door, or I'm calling the police and showing them the refinance application with your forged signature. That's fraud, Rita. That's jail time. She stood up. Her face was red, tears streaming. You wouldn't. Try me. She ran. Out the door, down the hall, gone. I heard her car start and peel away. Then I was alone. Again. I looked at the folder on my table. All that evidence. All those lies. My children. My life. All of it rotten. My phone buzzed. A text from Eddie. You okay? I typed back. No, but I will be. What are you going to do? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Then I typed, something they'll never forget. Frank, I'll call you tomorrow. I put the phone down and walked to my bedroom closet. Pulled down another box. This one had photos in it. Old photos. Rita and David as kids. Birthday parties. Christmas mornings. Graduations. All those moments I thought meant something. I looked at every single photo. Then I put them back in the box, put the box back on the shelf, and closed the closet door. When I turned around, I wasn't their father anymore. I was something else entirely. 3 months later, David called me. Hey, Dad. I didn't answer, just waited. I know you're still mad, I get it. But I'm calling because, well, I'm getting married. That got my attention. I thought Karen wanted a divorce. She does. Did. We worked it out. Worked it out how? We're going to try again. For the baby. We figured it out. The baby that's not yours. Silence. She told me who the father is. He wants nothing to do with it. So I'm going to step up. Be a man about it. How noble. Dad, when's the wedding? Next month, June 15th, at the Riverside Hotel. Big event. 200 people. And you want me to come? You're my father. Of course I want you to come. Will Rita be there? Yeah. And Brian? Yeah. Then no. Dad. I'm not watching that man smile at me like everything's fine while my daughter has scars on her arms. Rita's dealing with that. It's not your problem. Everything involving my children is my problem. Then come to the wedding. Be there for me. Please. I almost said no again. Almost hung up. But something stopped me. A thought, an idea, something dark and sharp that had been growing in my brain for 3 months while I sat alone in my apartment thinking about revenge. Fine, I'll come. Really? Really, on one condition. What? I want to give a toast. A toast? Yeah, father of the groom speech. Traditional, right? David hesitated. I don't know if... That's my condition. I come, I give a toast. Take it or leave it. Okay, yeah, sure. You can give a toast. Good. Send me the details. I hung up before he could say anything else. Then I called Eddie. I need everything you've got on David and Karen. Everything. The affair, the paternity test, the business fraud, all of it. Why? Because I'm going to a wedding. Frank, can you get it or not? He sighed. Yeah, I can get it. But if you're planning what I think you're planning... I'm not planning anything. I'm just going to give a toast. That's what I'm afraid of. He delivered the documents 2 days later. More bank statements, emails, text messages between Karen and her lover, the paternity test results, everything I needed. I read through it all, memorized the important parts, printed copies. Then I waited. The month passed slowly. Rita called me once. I didn't answer. David called twice. I answered both times, kept it brief, gave him nothing. Let him think I'd calmed down, let him think I'd forgiven them. I hadn't. June 15th arrived hot and bright. The Riverside Hotel was a sprawling building on the edge of town, all glass and white stone, expensive. David must have borrowed money for this too. More debt, more lies. I showed up in a suit, clean-shaven, carrying a small envelope in my jacket pocket. The parking lot was full. Inside, The ballroom was packed with people I didn't know. Friends of David and Karen, I assumed. Business associates, family on Karen's side. I recognized almost no one. Rita was standing near the bar with Brian. She saw me and went pale. Brian smiled, that same easy smile he'd had at their wedding, at Sunday dinners, at every family gathering where he pretended to be a good man. I smiled back. David found me before the ceremony started. "Dad, you came." "Said I would." "I'm glad. I really am. And listen, about the toast. Don't worry, I'll keep it short." "Okay, good, because Karen's father is also giving a speech and we don't want to—" I said I'll keep it short. He nodded, looked nervous. "Okay, thanks for coming, Dad. It means a lot." He walked away. The ceremony was quick. Standard vows. Karen looked beautiful in white, which would have been funny if any of this was actually funny. David looked happy, proud, like he'd won something. I sat in the back and waited. The reception started an hour later. Dinner first, chicken or fish. I picked chicken, followed by speeches. Karen's father went first, talked about how proud he was, how much he loved his daughter, how excited he was to welcome David into the family. Standard father of the bride stuff. Then it was my turn. I walked to the front of the ballroom with my envelope in one hand and a microphone in the other. 200 people looked at me. I looked back. "Thank you all for coming," I started. "For those who don't know me, I'm Frank Donovan, David's father. And I want to start by saying how proud I am of my son. He's overcome a lot to get here today. Financial troubles, business failures, the knowledge that he's raising another man's child." The room went silent. Karen's face drained of color. David stood up from his chair. "Dad." "Sit down, David." "Dad, stop." I said sit down. He didn't. I kept talking anyway. "See, most of you probably don't know that David started a business last year, tech startup, took investments from good people who believed in him. Then he ran that business into the ground and kept the money. Some of those investors are under investigation for fraud now. David might be next." "Dad, that's not—" "And Karen. Beautiful Karen. She had an affair, got pregnant, told David it was his. It wasn't. We know because David got a paternity test 3 weeks before today. But hey, he's marrying her anyway. That's love, right?" People started standing up, whispering. Karen was crying. David was trying to get to me, but people were in the way. "And my daughter Rita, she's here too. Rita, stand up." Rita didn't move. "Stand up, Rita." She stood, slowly. Her face was red. Rita tried to steal my apartment, forged my signature on refinance paperwork to pay off her husband's gambling debts. That husband, Brian, he's the one who burned her. Boiling water, not once, 3 times. But she stayed with him anyway because my children don't know how to make good decisions. "That's enough." David finally reached me, grabbed my arm. I shook him off. "No, David, it's not nearly enough. Because I spent 30 years raising you. Paid for your schooling, your first car, your sister's wedding. By scheming to sell my home. By lying to me about everything that mattered. Get out," David said. His voice was shaking. "Get out of my wedding." "Oh, I'm leaving. But not before I do this." I pulled the papers from my envelope and held them up. These are copies of everything I just told you about. Bank statements, paternity tests, text messages, police reports. I'm leaving them here for anyone who wants proof, because I'm done protecting my children from the consequences of their choices. I dropped the papers on the head table. They scattered across the white tablecloth like evidence at a crime scene. "Congratulations on your marriage," I said. "Hope it works out better than your business did." I walked toward the exit. That's when Karen moved. David's new bride, in her white dress, crying mascara down her face. She stepped in front of me. "How dare you?" she said. "Excuse me. How dare you come here and ruin this? What kind of father are you?" "Not a very good one, apparently." "You're a monster." "Maybe, But I'm not a thief, and I'm not a liar, and I'm not someone who burns my family and expects them to smile about it. David told me you'd try something like this. He said you couldn't handle the truth about your own failures. That's why your kids don't trust you, because you're bitter and jealous and... She was still talking when her hand came up and cracked across my face. The slap echoed through the ballroom. Everyone froze. I didn't move. Just stood there with my cheek stinging and Karen glaring at me like she'd just won something. "Now get out," she said. I looked at her, then at David, then at Rita, still standing by the bar with tears running down her face. Then I smiled. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'm going. But before I do, let me tell you something. That baby you're carrying, the one David's pretending is his. The father is James Park, your yoga instructor. 6 months ago, while David was out of town for business, David knows. He's known since March. And he's marrying you anyway because he's so desperate for my apartment that he's willing to raise another man's child just to keep you from divorcing him before I die." Karen's face went white. David lunged at me. "You son of a..." He never finished. Because the ballroom doors opened and a man walked in. An older man. Grey hair, sharp eyes, expensive suit. He looked at the chaos in the ballroom, the scattered papers, the crying bride, David frozen mid-lunge, and smiled. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "Traffic was hell." David stared at him. "Who the hell are you?" "Philip Grant. I represent the investors in your failed business venture. I've been looking for you, David. You've been avoiding my calls." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you don't." Philip walked further into the ballroom, looked around at all the guests. "Is everyone having a good time?" "I hope so, because I have some news that's going to make this day even more memorable." He pulled out his own envelope, held it up. "This is a lawsuit. Fraud, embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty. We're suing David Donovan for $150,000. And based on what I'm hearing about tonight's festivities," he glanced at the scattered papers on the head table, "I think we've got a pretty strong case." The room erupted, people shouting, Karen screaming, David trying to explain, Brian pulling Rita toward the exit. Complete chaos. I walked out through it all. Didn't look back. In the parking lot, Philip caught up with me. "Nice timing," I said. "You paid for nice timing. Eddie said you wanted maximum impact." "I did, thanks." "No problem, the lawsuit's real by the way. We were going to serve him anyway. This just made it more fun." He walked to his car. I walked to mine. And as I drove away from the Riverside Hotel, away from my son's destroyed wedding, away from my daughter's tears, I felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, no satisfaction, just cold, clear emptiness, and the knowledge that this was only the beginning. The papers arrived 3 weeks later, delivered by a courier to my front door at 7 a.m., legal documents in a manila envelope. I opened it standing in my doorway, still in my bathrobe. Petition for emergency guardianship and mental health evaluation, filed by David Donovan and Rita Keller. My children were trying to have me declared incompetent. I read through the entire packet standing there in the hallway. 10 pages of legal language that boiled down to one simple claim. Frank Donovan is mentally unstable, poses a danger to himself and others, and requires immediate psychiatric evaluation and possible commitment. Evidence cited included violent assault on Brian Keller, public disturbance at David Donovan's wedding, erratic behavior and paranoid delusions, inability to manage finances, statements indicating suicidal ideation. That last one made me laugh. I'd never said anything about suicide. They'd made it up, lied under oath in legal documents just to get control of my apartment. I called Eddie. "They're trying to have me committed." "What?" I read him the papers. "Jesus, can they do that?" "Apparently. There's a hearing scheduled for next week. Judge will decide if I need evaluation." "That's insane." "That's the point. They want me declared insane so they can take over my assets. The apartment, my pension, everything. What are you going to do? Fight it. I need a lawyer. I know a guy, Jennifer Hammond, family law specialist. She's good. Set it up. I met Jennifer that afternoon. Mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She read through the papers while I sat in her office, trying not to think about how much this was going to cost. This is vicious, she said finally. That's my family. They're alleging you're a danger. That's serious. If the judge believes them, they can have you forcibly evaluated, possibly committed for 72 hours. Can they win? Maybe. They have the wedding incident. They have Brian's testimony about the assault. If they can get a doctor to say you're unstable. I'm not unstable. I believe you, but courts don't always care about truth. They care about evidence, and your children are building a pretty compelling case. So what do? We build a better one. We show the judge why you did what you did, the abuse, the fraud, the lies. We make them look like opportunistic thieves instead of concerned children. How? With everything you've got. Bank records, ER reports, the refinance application. All of it. We bury them in evidence. Will it work? I don't know, but it's your best shot. I hired her on the spot. The next week was hell. Meetings with lawyers, depositions, gathering documents. Eddie worked overtime collecting everything we needed. Bank statements showing Rita's forged signature, ER records showing her burns, text messages between David and Rita discussing the apartment. All of it legal, all of it damning. The hearing was set for Thursday at 9 a.m. I showed up in a suit with Jennifer beside me. David and Rita were already there with their lawyer, a young guy in an expensive suit who looked like he'd never lost a case. We didn't make eye contact. The judge was an older woman named Patricia Brennan. She looked at both sides with tired eyes and gestured for us to sit. This is an emergency hearing regarding the mental competency of Frank Donovan, she said. I've reviewed the petition filed by David Donovan and Rita Keller. Mr. Donovan, you have a right to respond. Jennifer stood. Your Honor, we move to dismiss this petition entirely. It's frivolous, vindictive, and unsupported by credible evidence. The other lawyer stood. Your Honor, my clients have documented evidence of Mr. Donovan's erratic and dangerous behavior, which was in direct response to documented abuse and fraud perpetrated by these same clients. Jennifer interrupted. We have evidence. So do we. Then let's see it. For the next hour, both sides presented their cases. David's lawyer showed photos from the wedding, testimony from guests describing my speech, a written statement from Brian describing the assault in the parking lot, medical records showing his bruised ribs. Jennifer countered with Rita's ER records, the forged refinance documents, David's failed business and lawsuit, Brian's history of domestic violence, back and forth, attack and defense. Judge Brennan listened to all of it without expression. Finally, she held up her hand. Enough. I've heard enough from both sides. Everyone went quiet. Mr. Donovan, stand up. I stood. You assaulted your son-in-law. Yes, Your Honor. You disrupted your son's wedding. Yes, Your Honor. And you've made threats against both of your children. Only threats to expose the truth, Your Honor, not threats of violence. The truth. She looked down at the papers in front of her. The truth is that your family is falling apart, and you're contributing to that collapse. With respect, Your Honor, it was already collapsed. I'm just the only one willing to admit it. She studied me for a long moment. I'm not going to order an evaluation today. David's lawyer shot to his feet. Your Honor. However, Judge Brennan continued, I am ordering a temporary restraining order. Mr. Donovan, you are not to contact either of your children directly. No calls, no texts, no visits. You are to stay at least 500 feet away from their homes and workplaces. This order will remain in effect for 60 days while I review this case more thoroughly. Your Honor, that's... That's my ruling. Break this order and I will have you evaluated. Understand? Yes, Your Honor. Good. We're adjourned. She stood and left. Everyone started packing their things. David came over to me. This isn't over. I know. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to prove you're unstable. And when we do, we're taking everything. Try it. We will. And we'll win. Because you're alone, Dad. No one's on your side. Not us, not the court, not anyone. You did this to yourself. He walked away with Rita beside him. She looked back once. Her eyes were empty. Jennifer touched my arm. You okay? Fine. That could have gone worse. Could have gone better, too. True, but we bought you time. That's something. Time for what? Time to prove they're the ones who need evaluation, not you. We left the courthouse together. Outside, Eddie was waiting by his car. How'd it go? Restraining order, 60 days. Could be worse. That's what she said. So what's the plan? I looked back at the courthouse, saw David and Rita walking to their car. Saw them talking, planning, scheming. The plan, I said slowly, is to make sure they regret ever filing those papers. Frank, they want to prove I'm unstable. Fine, I'll show them unstable. That's exactly what they want you to do. I know, that's why it's going to work. I got in my car and drove home. That night I got a call from an unknown number. Frank Donovan? Who's this? My name is Thomas Park. You don't know me, but you know my son, James Park, the man who got your son's wife pregnant. I sat up straight. Why are you calling me? Because I heard about the wedding, about what you did, and I want to help. Help how? My son made a mistake. He's willing to admit it, in court if necessary. He'll testify about the affair, about the baby, about everything, if it helps expose what your son did. Why would he do that? Because David Donovan threatened him, told him if he ever came forward, David would ruin him. My son's scared, but he's also angry, and he wants David to face consequences. What do you want in return? Nothing, just the chance to do the right thing. I thought about it. Give me your number. I'll call you if I need it. Okay, but Frank. Yeah? Be careful. Your kids are dangerous. More dangerous than you think. I know. No, you don't. They're not just planning to take your apartment. They're planning to make you disappear. What? Think about it. Why would they file for guardianship instead of just suing you? Because if they get control, they can make all your decisions. Where you live, what doctors you see, whether you're competent to manage your own affairs. They can put you in a home, Frank. A place where no one will listen to you, where no one will believe you, and then they can sell everything you own, and you'll never see a dime. How do you know this? Because my son overheard Karen talking about it, planning it with David. They've already looked at facilities, already talked to doctors willing to sign off on evaluations. This isn't just about money, Frank. This is about making you disappear. He hung up. I sat there in the dark for a long time. Then I called Eddie. We have a problem. David's first payment was due 30 days after he signed the agreement. He didn't make it. Philip called me on day 31. I know. According to the agreement, you can now move to seize his assets. Do it. Frank, this is your son. Who tried to have me committed? File the paperwork, Philip. He did. The seizure order hit David like a freight train. According to the promissory note, any missed payment gave me the right to place liens on his property, his bank accounts, his salary. Everything he owned was now collateral until he paid what he owed. He called me screaming. You can't do this. I already did. This is illegal. No, this is a legally binding contract that you signed. Should have read it more carefully. I'll fight this. Go ahead. You'll lose. Your lawyer already reviewed the agreement. He'll tell you the same thing. You're taking everything. No, I'm taking what you owe me, plus interest, plus penalties for missing the payment. It's all in the contract. I don't have the money. Then you shouldn't have borrowed it. You're destroying my life. You tried to destroy mine first. This is just payback. He hung up. 2 days later, his bank accounts were frozen, his wages garnished, his car repossessed. Everything he'd built came crashing down in less than a week. Karen left him the same day the car was taken. Packed her things, took the baby, David's baby, not his, everyone knew now, and moved back to her parents' house. Filed for divorce the next morning. David showed up at my apartment that night. I didn't let him in. Talked through the closed door. What do you want? I want my life back. Can't help you. You're my father, and you're my son. But that stopped meaning anything the day you tried to have me locked away. I was desperate. So am I. That's why I'm taking everything. Please, I'll do anything. Then make your payments, all of them, on time, with interest, until the debt is paid. That'll take years. Better get started. Dad, go home, David. Figure it out yourself. That's what you wanted me to do, right? Handle my own problems. I'm sorry for all of it. The guardianship papers, the lies, everything. I was wrong. Yes, you were. And now you're paying for it. How long are you going to punish me? Until you understand what you did, until you feel what I felt when I found out my own children wanted me gone. I understand. No, you don't, but you will. I walked away from the door, let him pound and yell until the neighbors called the cops. Let them take him away. Rita watched from my couch. You're really going to take everything from him? Everything he owes me? Yes. That's cruel. That's justice. It's revenge. Maybe, but he made his choice. Now I'm making mine. The weeks that followed were brutal. David tried everything. Hired lawyers to contest the agreement. Lost. Filed complaints with consumer protection agencies. Dismissed. Even tried to declare bankruptcy, but the promissory note was secured debt, exempted from bankruptcy discharge. Every avenue closed. Every escape blocked. He lost his apartment, his credit, his job eventually, when the garnishments became too much for his employer to handle. Karen's divorce went through in 6 weeks. Took half of nothing, which was exactly what David had left. By the time it was over, my son was living in a rented room, working construction, ironically, and sending me monthly payments of $300 that barely covered the interest on what he owed. He'd be paying me for the next 20 years. Rita asked me if I felt guilty. No. Not even a little. No. Why not? Because he tried to erase me, to make me disappear, so he could take what was mine. That's not a mistake, Rita. That's not desperation. That's betrayal, and betrayal has consequences. When does it stop? When he pays what he owes. He'll never be able to pay at all. Then it never stops. She looked at me like I was a stranger. What happened to you? I woke up. That's all. I stopped being the father who forgave everything and started being the man who demanded accountability. You sound like a stranger. Good. Maybe that'll remind you and David that I'm not just your father. I'm a person, with rights, with dignity, with value beyond what you can take from me. She didn't have an answer to that. Brian's trial came next. He pled guilty to breaking and entering, violating a restraining order, and attempted assault. Got 3 years. Would serve 18 months with good behavior. Rita attended the sentencing, sat in the front row and stared at him while the judge read the verdict. Brian looked back at her once. His eyes were empty. When it was over, Rita and I walked out together. I should feel relieved, she said, but you don't. No, I just feel tired. That's normal. Is it? Because I don't know what normal is anymore. My husband's in prison. My brother's broke. My father hates both of us. I don't hate you. Then what do you feel? I thought about it. Disappointment, anger, betrayal, but not hate. Is there a difference? Yes. Hate means I want you gone. I don't. I just want you to be better. Better how? Better than the person who tried to steal from me. Better than the person who stayed with a man who hurt her. Better than the person who blamed me for trying to help. She stopped walking. I don't know how to be that person. Then figure it out, because I'm not helping you anymore. Not until you help yourself. What does that mean? It means get therapy, get a job, get your life together. And when you're ready, if you're ever ready, maybe we can try being family again, but not before. And until then? Until then, you're on your own, she cried. Right there on the courthouse steps, big, ugly sobs that made people stare. I didn't comfort her, didn't say it would be okay. Just stood there until she stopped. I hate you, she said finally. I know. You destroyed everything. No, you and David did that. I just stopped pretending it wasn't happening. She walked away. I watched her go. Eddie found me an hour later sitting in my car. You okay? Fine. You don't look fine. Well, I am. He got in the passenger seat. You won, Frank. You got revenge on both of them. Brian's in prison. David's broke. Rita's alone. You got everything you wanted. Not everything. What's missing? My family. You can't have both. Not after what you did. I know. So which do you want? Revenge or family? I looked at him. That's not a choice anymore. It was made for me the day they filed those guardianship papers. You could forgive them. Why? Because they're your children. They stopped being my children when they tried to make me disappear. Eddie shook his head. You're going to die alone, Frank. Probably, but I'll die free. With my apartment, my dignity, my life still mine. That's more than they were going to leave me with. Is it worth it? I started the car. Ask me again in 20 years. 6 months later, I got a call from Karen. Frank, it's Karen, David's wife, ex-wife. I know who you are. What do you want? I need to talk to you about David. Not interested. Please, it's important. Something in her voice made me pause. What's wrong? Can we meet, in person? We met at a coffee shop near her parents' house. She looked tired. The baby, David's baby that wasn't David's baby, was with her in a carrier. Thanks for coming, she said. What's this about? David's planning something. Planning what? I don't know exactly, but he's been meeting with lawyers, different ones than before, and he's been asking me questions about you. Where you live, what your schedule is, if you have any health problems. Why would he ask you that? Because he thinks I still talk to you, because he thinks I might help him. Help him do what? She leaned forward. He's trying again, to have you committed, but this time he's doing it differently. He's gathering evidence, witnesses. He's building a case that you're not just unstable, that you're dangerous, that you're a threat to yourself and others. Based on what? Based on lies. He's been telling people you threatened him, that you've been stalking Rita, that you've made violent statements. He's creating a narrative that you're deteriorating mentally and need intervention. Why are you telling me this? Because it's wrong. Because David destroyed our marriage with his lies, and I'm not going to let him destroy you too. She looked down at the baby, and because I don't want my daughter growing up thinking this kind of behavior is normal. When's he planning to file? Soon, maybe a week, maybe less. He's waiting for one more piece of evidence. What evidence? I don't know. But Frank, he's not working alone. Rita's helping him. That stopped me cold. Rita's helping him? Yes. She's been talking to doctors, getting statements from people who saw you at the wedding. She's convinced herself that you need help, that locking you up is actually the kind thing to do. After everything, she still thinks she's doing the right thing. That's how good David is at manipulation. He's convinced her that taking away your freedom is helping you. I sat back, processing. What do you want from me? I want you to stop him, before he files, before this goes any further. How? I don't know, but you're smart. You've beaten him before. You can beat him again. Why do you care? Because David tried to make me a victim of his schemes. Because he manipulated me, lied to me, used me. And I'm not letting him do that to anyone else, even you. She stood up. I sent you an email. It has everything I know, dates, names, who he's talked to. Use it however you want. Just stop him. She left. I sat there for another hour thinking. Then I called Eddie. We need to move up the timeline. Timeline for what? For the end game. Frank, they're coming for me again. David and Rita, and this time they're not stopping until I'm locked up. So we need to hit them first. Hit them so hard they can't recover. What did you have in mind? A family meeting, one last confrontation, everyone in the same room, all the evidence laid out, all the lies exposed. And then what? And then I end this, for good. I spent the next 3 days preparing, gathering documents, printing evidence, making copies of everything Eddie and I had collected over the past year. Bank statements showing Rita's fraud, text messages showing David's schemes, medical records showing Brian's abuse, legal documents showing their guardianship attempts, all of it organized, labeled, ready. Then I sent invitations, formal letters, delivered by courier, one to David, one to Rita, one to Karen's lawyer, representing the baby's interests, one to Philip Grant, one to Jennifer Hammond. Meeting requested, Saturday, 10 a.m., my apartment, mandatory attendance, legal consequences if declined. David called me immediately. What is this? An invitation? To what? To the end of our war. You want my apartment? You want me declared incompetent? Fine. Come prove it. In front of lawyers, in front of witnesses, with all the evidence on the table. This is a trap. This is an opportunity to finally settle things, one way or another. I'm not coming. Yes, you are, because if you don't, I'm filing my own guardianship petition against you for financial incompetence and fraud, and I have enough evidence to win. Silence. See you Saturday, David. Rita called next. Dad, what are you doing? Ending this. Ending what? The lies, the schemes, all of it. We're going to sit down, all of us together, and lay everything out, and then we're going to decide, once and for all, what kind of family we are. I don't think you don't have a choice. Show up or face legal consequences. Those are your options. Dad, Saturday, 10 a.m. Don't be late. Saturday came clear and cold. Everyone arrived on time. David first, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Rita next, eyes red from crying. Karen came alone, the baby with her parents. Philip and Jennifer arrived together, lawyer briefcases in hand. I'd arranged my living room like a courtroom, chairs in rows, a table at the front, documents stacked neatly. Thank you all for coming, I started. I know this is unusual, but I wanted everyone here to witness what happens next. Which is what? David demanded. The truth. All of it. Everything you've tried to hide, everything you've lied about. I'm going to present evidence of every fraud, every scheme, every betrayal. And then we're going to decide who really needs a guardian. I started with the refinance application, held it up. Rita forged my signature to steal my apartment. Here's the proof. I showed the bank statements next. David's debts, $50,000 in gambling losses, failed business, fraud investigation. Then the medical records. Rita's abuse, 3 ER visits, all documented, all explained away with lies. The text messages. David planning with Rita to have me committed so they could sell my apartment. The legal documents. Their guardianship petition, filed to make me disappear, to lock me away while they took everything I owned. I went through every piece of evidence, every lie, every betrayal. By the time I finished, Rita was crying. David was pale. Karen was nodding like she'd expected all of this. So here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to drop the guardianship petition. You're going to sign statements admitting to the fraud, And you're going to leave me alone, forever. And if we don't, David asked, then I file criminal charges, fraud, forgery, attempted theft. I press every charge I can think of, and I use every piece of evidence in this room to make sure you both go to prison. You're bluffing. Am I? I looked at Jennifer. Read them the criminal statutes. Jennifer stood, read from a legal pad. Wire fraud, identity theft, elder abuse, each one carrying years of prison time. You'd really send your own children to prison, Rita whispered. You'd really have your own father locked in a psychiatric facility. No answer. That's what I thought. Philip stood next. I've prepared documents, acknowledgements of debt, withdrawals of guardianship petitions, agreements to cease all legal actions. Everyone signs, everyone walks away. That's the deal. And if we refuse, David asked again. Then we proceed with criminal charges, Jennifer said. Today, right now. Police are waiting outside with warrants. All we have to do is make the call. She wasn't bluffing. I'd arranged everything, set it all up. This was their last chance to end this without prison. David looked at Rita. Rita looked at me. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because I'm tired of fighting. Because I want my life back. Because I want to be done with both of you. We're your children. You stopped being my children the day you tried to make me disappear, and I'm treating you the way I'd treat any stranger who tried to rob me. Rita started crying harder. David just stared at the floor. Sign the papers, I said, or go to prison. Choose. They chose the papers. One by one they signed. Acknowledgement of debts, withdrawal of petitions, agreements to cease contact, all of it legally binding, all of it final. When it was done, Philip collected the documents. Jennifer confirmed the signatures. It's over, she said. Good. David stood, walked to the door without looking at me. Rita stopped, turned back. I hope you're happy. I'm not happy. I'm free. There's a difference. You're going to die alone. Maybe, but I'll die on my terms, in my home, with my dignity intact. That's more than you were going to give me. She left. Karen stayed behind. Thank you. For what? For showing my daughter what happens when you let people manipulate you. For being strong enough to stand up to them. I didn't do it for you. I know, but it helped anyway. She left too. Eddie came out from the bedroom where he'd been recording everything. It's done. Yeah. How do you feel? Tired. You won, Frank. You beat them. Did I? Or did I just lose differently? He didn't answer, just patted my shoulder and left. I stood alone in my apartment, surrounded by evidence of a family that didn't exist anymore. No Sunday dinners, no phone calls, no shared holidays, just silence and freedom and the hollow victory of a man who'd won the war but lost everything that mattered. I walked to the window and looked out at the street, watched David and Rita get into separate cars, watched them drive away in opposite directions, watched them disappear, and I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not regret, not sadness. Just the cold, clear realization that I'd become exactly what they'd accused me of being. A monster. But a monster who was free. I turned away from the window, poured myself a whiskey, sat down in my chair, and finally, after a year of fighting, of scheming, of destroying the people I'd once loved, I let myself breathe. It was over. They were gone. I'd won. And I was completely, utterly alone. The whiskey tasted like ashes.